Good afternoon, everyone. It's David Schlotthauer here with another detailed tropical weather outlook and discussion for Tuesday, September the 17th, 2024. Now, in today's tropical weather forecast, we are keeping an eye on the Caribbean for significant tropical development. We could be looking at our next major hurricane developing over here and then eventually moving into the Gulf of Mexico. So in this update, I will break down all those details that you need to be aware of about this upcoming Gulf hurricane. So to start off the video, here's a look at the GOES 16 True Color Visible Satellite Imagery provided by Dr. Levi Cowan at tropicaltidbits.com. And what we have here is what is left with Gordon, no longer a named storm. It could get renamed once it redevelops potentially. But what we're really concerned about is what goes on in the Caribbean. We are looking at our Central American gyre. We've been talking about this for the last several videos, how something big could be developing over here in the Caribbean and then eventually entering the Gulf as a potential major Gulf hurricane, especially over the eastern half of the Gulf, because that's where we have the highest upper ocean heat content and the most warm sea surface temperature. Now, looking at the 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida, we can see that area of interest. That is what is left with Gordon. But what we don't see on this map is an area to watch over the central and northwestern Caribbean. I'm telling you folks, if not by tonight, by tomorrow, there will be an area of interest that the National Hurricane Center will be investigating down here eventually. And if we get any significant development, it is going to go into the Gulf and it could become, again, our next major hurricane. So now, with that being said, here is the meat of the video, folks. Make sure you like the video, you share this video with your family and friends, because we're going to be walking through all of the reliable deterministic models. We're going to be looking at the ensembles and the spaghetti plots on this disturbance. We're going to kind of cover this from the ground up, which is really awesome. So make sure, again, you all leave a comment, because you all really liked yesterday's video, and that's why I'm reiterating on this today. So looking at the 850 millibar GFS cyclonic vorticity plot. So this is how much spin there is in the atmosphere. The more spin you get, that concentrates, we get a tropical storm or hurricane that develops. Mark Sedeth really covers this in one of his videos, explaining what this actually means, and he even says this is his favorite layer of the atmosphere. I love that, Mark, if you're watching this video. So going forward here in time, we can see nothing big is coming yet until we get beyond the 5-day time frame. And we can see in 5 days, the GFS, the Global Forecasting System, indicating that massive Central American gyre. You can see the winds do this in the Eastern Pacific, then they curve all the way up like this, and they go this way, and then they kind of go around. So there is your Central American gyre, and something big, I have a feeling, folks, something big is going to develop out of this. And let's hope it's nothing like Beryl, because we do not need a Cat 5 hurricane making landfall anywhere in the Gulf Coast of the United States. But sadly, some of the models, some of the ensemble members are still showing that could actually happen. Not a Cat 5, but more likely a major hurricane of some sorts could be on the doorstep. So that's day 5. This is day 7, and we can see right here, again, there it is. There's a spin going over the western tip of Cuba there. Now, there's a little bit of shear. That's why the system doesn't do very well on previous runs, showing a big hurricane developing over there in the northwestern Caribbean. This run is a lot faster, so it's already in the Gulf in 7 days. Probably a little bit an overstatement. I think it's still going to be trapped down here a little longer than what the model is showing. Now, going forward, the GFS model still indicates that this will become a hurricane in the Gulf, but may not have as much time to intensify because it's moving fast. There's a little bit of dry air. There's a little bit of shear because we have another area of disturbed weather over Texas and Oklahoma. So that's going to really help to increase the wind shear. And we can even see this on our upper level wind plot showing us, there it is. There's your southwesterly shear over the system. Here's your big old fat ridge at 200 millibars. Oops, I drew an H there. There we go. I drew an L, meant to draw an H. You can see that high pressure system at 200 millibars. And this moves onshore as, again, a 990 millibar system. But that's an understatement because previous GFS model runs show this becoming a Cat 5 or a Cat 4 hurricane once it gets into the Gulf. So this is probably a bad run of the GFS, but we'll see with what future runs do eventually with it. But I have something bigger to show you all. On the Canadian model, it's showing something really big developing in the Gulf of Mexico. And this is why we look at these different deterministic models, folks. We just don't look at one specific model. All right. This look at the Canadian, and over the next 5 days, again, it shows what the GFS is showing, that Central American gyre going, the CKG, I think, CAG. That's what it is, CAG, Central American gyre. And we can clearly get an idea that in 7 days, the Canadian does want to consolidate something pretty formidably more broad in nature, but this would be a strong tropical storm in the northwestern Caribbean. And then watch what happens once this gets into the Gulf. Again, showing some dark red vorticity. That means we are looking at a hurricane potentially, and if not, here's a look at the surface wind plot. Some purple there, some dark red colors indicating a strong 70-mile-an-hour tropical storm, or even as high as 90-mile-an-hour hurricane here approaching the eastern Gulf of Mexico. And this is the worst case scenario because what I'm about to show you, we're seeing extreme upper ocean heat content, and we're looking at extremely warm sea surface temperatures in the mid to even upper 80s, even some low 90s down here in the southeastern Gulf of Mexico, which is not good at all. Big trouble coming if this consolidates at the wrong time and it really contracts its wind field. Once we go into about day 9, day 10 of September the 26th and the 27th, we're looking at this making landfall potentially somewhere in the United States, most likely east of Oklahoma. We don't know exactly, but this run specifically shows the Big Bend of Florida. And I told you all, the 26th of September and beyond is when things are going to get rough. That's what I'm forecasting. Now, looking at the European model, the ECMWF, and now looking at the previous Canadian model runs, I forgot to show you all this. Look how consistent this has been showing. If we go back, let's go right here. You can see many runs showing a Gulf hurricane developing there. It actually shifted a little more to the west than just recently. So this is going well into the Gulf, and it's going to intensify. Now, looking at the European now, back to with what we were just going to talk about. This is, again, at the cyclonic vorticity plot, and we can see that the Euro still indicating something. It's not going too organized on this. It's not too confident in the forecast, but you can see one little lobe here. That would be a tropical depression, and then maybe something down here. We'll see if that actually closes off. If it does, it would be a tropical depression, but most of the energy is down here over the Central America region, hence the Central American gyre. But this is when all the conservative European model ends. Looking at the AI model, this is the European Artificial Intelligence model, one of the more accurate models. We're still doing a little bit of studying on if it's reliable or not. It did really well with Francine. It did pretty well with Ernesto. It did good with some other systems, including Beryl. So now the question really remains, will it do good with our Central American gyre system? And it appears it's not looking good. This is going to strengthen at an enormous rate. And keep in mind, this is not a high-resolution artificial intelligence model. So take this with a grain of salt. Add additional 30 to 40 mile an hour winds on top of this, especially when the system really develops. So we can see already here winds of 38 miles an hour. So we would probably be looking at a tropical storm at this point with winds of about 45 to 55, maybe 60 miles an hour. But look what happens to it. It really intensifies quickly once it gets into the Gulf. 58 mile an hour winds, and then eventually getting all the way up, folks, to about 60 miles an hour. Now, you're probably wondering that, what? But David, this is not a hurricane, though. But I want to make it clear, though, that there's not much shear here. If we go all the way back, not a whole lot of wind shear here. So this thing is going to blow up quickly. And secondly, this model is not high resolution, as I just kind of iterated in this video. So the fact that we're seeing a 60-mile-an-hour tropical storm on the artificial intelligence means that this is going to become a hurricane with winds of about 75 to 120 miles an hour perhaps. And again, I really want to iterate on the date as well. This is for September the 27th in the morning hours, and I did say the 26th. I've said this in the last several of my videos that when we look at the long-range MJO forecast, we can see that beyond the 26th of September, we're going to have something big developing, and that still seems to be sticking to the waffle iron here on our latest deterministic models, and that's I don't want that. I don't want to be, well, I want to be correct on the forecast, but the fact that I've been predicting the September 26th for a while really is not good. This is not a good situation, and it still seems to come to pass here on our latest guidance. Now, when looking at the ensemble forecast from the Euro, different members showing different outcomes and intensities here. So what you're about to see is a bunch of little systems, a lot of low pressure areas. These are different members predicting different scenarios, okay? So looking at the Euro ensemble forecast now, while the deterministic model is not showing much in the way of development, you can see all of the ensembles here showing a hurricane here, showing a hurricane here, even a hurricane in the northwestern Caribbean. Sadly, that might actually end up happening, and then more hurricanes developing over here on our members. Now going forward, more go on shore, but look at the slower set of models here or members showing potentially a major hurricane, 946, getting all the way down to 940 millibars, approaching Panama City, Pensacola, Florida. This would be September the 29th. So there's a high ceiling on this based on our ensembles, and you can see a lot of coverage, a lot of these sniffing out hurricanes over the Gulf. Because of this, the chances of a tropical depression and storm are increasing on our probabilistic forecast, or probabilistic, I should say. So for the northwestern Caribbean, we have a greater than 60 to 80% chance that a tropical depression will form. And again, I've been saying this for a while now. This area of the Caribbean seems to have a tropical depression or a storm. What are the chances of a tropical storm developing in the Gulf? We can see there a 10 to 20% chance, but remember, this is from the Euro ensemble, and the deterministic and control run not really showing much, but the ensemble's going crazy, so I would not be surprised if this goes way up by tonight, possibly to a 30 to 40% chance in later updates from the European model side of things. So now when looking at this from the European model ensemble prediction system perspective, this is the spaghetti plot showing a range of possibilities. That's what this is all about. But what it is showing is there's a big growing signal over here over the Gulf of Mexico. And I've said this too many times already, but there are many tracks, many members picking this up as a major hurricane. Saw all these red tracks. There's one there. There's one right over here. We have a couple, one there, one over here, and even one trying to develop just last minute before it moves over to the Big Bend of Florida, this big pouch of water. Does show major hurricane intensities. We're looking at pressures here greater than or lower than 950 millibars. That's major category 4 intensity over the Gulf of Mexico. And that's why even so our GFS and Euro are downtrending a little bit. Don't let that fool you, because this is just getting worse. This is getting more concerning. Even the GEFS ensemble spaghetti plot is going haywire with this. Look at all of these hurricane tracks. We got one right here. We got one here. Oh man, there's just too many. And we got major hurricane here. We got a lot more going on moving this way. So most of the guidance brings us into the central Gulf of Mexico. Again, that's what the artificial intelligence model is showing. And so we really got to pay close attention to this. This is something we are not going to ignore. I'm going to hype on this a little bit because there is a strong signal here for this to become our next major hurricane. And just like we talked about in yesterday's video, big favorable environment coming to the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. Again, I just said this many times, coming a little earlier than what we thought. This is September the 25th. And the 26th, the favorable environment now looks to be moving a lot earlier to now September the 19th. That's much earlier, which explains why the GFS and some other models are now picking up on this a little sooner. Not only that, look at the favorable environment that remains overhead all the way through early October. So that means we could have numerous tropical systems that develop out of this. Maybe our next couple of hurricanes, including the one that is going to come from the Central American Gyre. I'm also indicating something that could develop out here in the main development region later on in the period. We're not going to talk much about that over the next couple of days since everyone's curious about what goes on. So all this upward motion, all the favorable environment here, lesser wind shear, lots of moisture is already coming to the Caribbean in the next 2 to 4 days. Even the GEFS ensemble control member on the velocity potential anomaly indicating similar to the European model. Look at all this green right here. This is all upward motion. Not much shear, lots of moisture in the atmosphere. We got a convective coupled Kelvin wave. You can see all that green warming across there from the Eastern Pacific all the way into the Atlantic. And this is when we could see that next big tropical storm or hurricane coming off of Africa. I won't show that in today's video, but it's been trending that way a little bit on our recent GFS model. Now, does this go further to the west and encounter more favorable conditions, or will this turn out to see and encounter all of this dry or some dry air out here? That's what this model is showing beyond the 27th and the 28th of September. That is to be announced. But I can tell you what, the Global Tropical Hazardous Weather Outlook from the Climate Prediction Center now has upped their chances. So a 60% chance, that's a high chance on the scale here, indicating that we are going to see our next hurricane, maybe our next major hurricane that develops out of this. Look at even the low chances go all the way up into the Carolinas, and that's where PTC 8 was. We might see more additional development out of that maybe. And then look at what is going on here. The climate prediction system also indicating more tropical development. Again, that system that I was talking about not showing, remember, we're not showing that right now, is indicating that there's a medium chance that this goes further to the west, and it could develop last minute near these islands and then turn to the north eventually. But there's a lot of uncertainties on that to develop. But that's through the 1st of October, and look at still a low to medium chance of tropical development all the way through the first full week of October. On top of that, our sea surface temperature anomalies are concerningly warm. This is just outstandingly warm. This is just undescribable. I mean, look how warm this is. 2 to 3 degrees Celsius above the long-term average over the southeastern Gulf, over the northwestern Caribbean. And I mean, this system develops over here. Again, that's what we talked about. If it goes this way or this way, it's going to be moving over some of these very warm Gulf waters, enough to really get some rapid intensification going. On top of that, sea surface temperatures, actual sea surface temperatures that is, are right around 31 to 33 Celsius. So again, that is right around 86 to 89 degrees Fahrenheit. This cannot be good at all. Again, our system develops down here. It's going to be moving over some of these very warm waters, including extreme upper ocean heat content, which I also wanted to show you here. All this dark red, that is off the charts. That's 200 ocean heat content values in units. And you can even see the loop current here. This, again, if the system does this, it's going to be moving over that loop current the longest. It's going to allow this system to really intensify if the shear is very light. Also over much of the Gulf, the rest of the Gulf, even if this goes this way and hits Texas, it's going to be moving over this really warm patch of upper ocean heat content. Not as high as it was before Francine, but still very high for this time of the year. But boy, down here, I'm telling you, very, very high. Now, when zooming out and looking at the rest of the Atlantic with upper ocean heat content, I mean, gosh, this is just a fertile ground, just waiting to explode. I mean, all this dark red. I've never seen anything like this, and I'm being honest. I'm not hyperboling this. This is truly remarkable. I've never seen this amount, this widespread of upper ocean heat content on extreme scales ever, even warmer than 2020. So again, if something develops, which it is, it's developing down here and it goes this way, I'm definitely thinking this is going to go haywire. But anyways, if you did enjoy today's detailed tropical weather outlook and discussion for Tuesday, September the 17th, 2024. Please do not forget to hit the red subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell notification icon, and also leave a comment in the section below and share this video with their family and friends on social media. You all really enjoyed last night's video, and so tonight I hope I did even a better job on that. But otherwise, thank you all for watching, and I'll be back with you more tomorrow to talk about this Central American gyre hurricane that's coming.